Okay, so this is the first example of the topic of finding the inverse of a function. I'm going to start working out with this f of x equal 2 times x plus 3, and I'm going to follow these 4 steps just as a guide or a bit of help just to work this through. Now again, this is not mandatory to follow these steps. This is just a recommendation, so feel free to work it if you feel more comfortable. Now I'm going to start with the first step, changing fx for y. Let's get to it. I'm going to write here y is equal to 2 times x plus 3. Just literally switching f of x or substituting fx for y. Now it will be pretty much all right for the first step. Now I'm going to get to the second one, isolating x. In other words, I'm going to solve this equation for this function for x. Now in order to do so, I'm going to substitute I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides of the equation, and I will get to this y minus 3 is equal to 2 times x. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide both sides of the equation by 2. I'm getting here y minus 3 all over 2 is an x here. Now I'm already done with the second step here. Let's put in the x. Now before going any further, I'm going to switch the y and the x from side, just because, to be honest, I feel more comfortable with doing so. Now here, now I'm going to do step number 3, interchanging x and y. Be y equal to x minus 3 over 2, and that will be step number 3. Now step number 4 will be changing y for f inverse of x. Literally, I'm going to substitute the y for this f inverse of x. It will be equal to x minus 3 over 2, and that will be pretty much all the algebra here. Now what I'm going to do now, I'm going to use a software to graph these functions out. Now the thing is, if I'm going to use a software, it will be kind of pointless to put values here, substitute values, and see, get the dots, get the points where this function is passing through in a graph, and then literally sketch the graph. So I'm going to do it anyway, to substitute and get values in this function, just to show you something. Hopefully we'll all, include something funny or interesting. So I'm going to do here f of x. I'm going to give a couple of values only, just going to do it quickly. With f of 0, the easiest one, will be 2 times 0 plus 3, and I get that f of 0 is equal to 3. In other words, this function f of x is passing through the point 0, 3. Now what I'm going to do is going to take our now value number 2, will be 2 times 2 plus 3, and I get that f of 2 is equal to 7. In other words, this f of x passes through the point 2, 7. Now I'm going to do just the same thing with this, but now with this function f inverse of x, this one here. So I'm going to pick some values, and I'm going to pick something tricky, something very close to what I just did. I'm going to pick the number first, number 3 here. I'm going to substitute in here an f inverse of x. So it will be 3 minus 3 equal over 2. This is the inverse, sorry. So f inverse of 3 is equal to 0. In other words, the inverse f of x, which is this expression here, passes through the point 3, 0. Now I'm going to do it again with this number 7. Let's see. Number 7 will be 7 minus 3 over 2. It will be 4 over 2. F inverse of 7 is equal to 2. And this implies that this function passes through point 7, 2. Now I want you to notice something. The values of f of x, like this one here, is inverted directly with this one here. F of 0 3, and in inverse of x, f of 3 will be 0. So let's say I will have, I don't know, f of 10 will be equal to 23. So if in f of x we have the point to 10, 23, it would imply that f inverse of x will pass to the point f 23, 10, just the same as here. If f of x passes through the point 2, 7, this one here, f inverse of x will pass through the point 7, 2. Now, how would this look like in a graph? I'm going to show you here using this website desmos.com, which is pretty cool, pretty useful. Here I already have these two graphs, y is equal to 2 times x plus 3. I'm going to plot it here. There we go. I'm going to show you here. This line here in blue is just the same. It's the graph for f of x equal to 2 times x plus 3. Now I'm going to plot the inverse of this function. Let's see how it happens, how it behaves. It's in here. Now, this in blue is f of x, and this in green is f inverse of x. I want you to notice something. They are literally inverted and mirrored, but not regarding the y or the x axis, but y is equal to x. This line here, y equal to x, and you see the f of x is mirrored to this function, this line here, y equal to x. Okay, that will be pretty much it for this first example, so hopefully it was useful to you.